Right now, so how did this transition happen, right? So this, the next one, please. And the transition really is what I call the 7 therapies in the book, and I'll talk about them. So these 7 therapies is something that I've evolved and written about. And I said that the first therapy really is the medical therapy, okay, which is the drug therapy and the psychotherapy, and it is essential. You just cannot survive without it. Radhika talked about it and how difficult it was for us to get onto it, but it really is essential. Love therapy, which is the role of the caregivers in the family, and I think I don't can add anything more than what Radhika has said, but particularly Amit, Radhika, and Mom have just been my primary caregivers, but we've had so much extended family over the years who've played a role. And then I would say lifestyle therapy. And by lifestyle therapy, I mean sleep, nutrition, exercise, and also play, right? To have a little bit of joy in my life. I mean, I just love playing with my children, playing table tennis or playing other games with them or just being involved in their Lego and other things. But without these 3, the medical, the love, and the lifestyle, you just cannot get a handle on your condition. And unfortunately, in our country, people are struggling with just these 3. The maximum messages I get from people are just to say, oh, you know, can you just, you know, I'm only taking the meds and nothing's happening. But just taking the meds is not enough, it's essential, but you have to have this troika, as I call it, right? And I'll just give you an example of how these 3 go hand in hand. So just this week, right, just now as in real time, I knew this week was going to be a very emotionally charged week for me. I may lose sleep, I'll probably get anxious. So I decided that I'm going to work out every single day, which I had been slipping on my workout. So I said, I'm going to make workout the priority and I'm going to fit work around it. I'm going to have an extra session of therapy with my therapist. And, you know, I was emotional in that session and I was a bit tearful because it's been such a long journey. But that's also what allows me to be kind of happy and pretty chilled about the whole thing today, right? And that is what therapy does. It makes you feel so much better. And then I spent a lot of time relaxing with Mom and Radhika and, of course, most importantly, Apollo, the dog. And then I think I did the best thing possible, which is I avoided IPL as much as possible because I think that's the best thing for my mental health, to avoid that. And then I took a pill to help me sleep, right, which is prescribed by my doctor, and it's safe, and it's completely going to give me that peace of mind. So this is these 3 therapies that are just helping one cope, right? But as I said, most families and individuals struggle with just these 3. But while they are the necessary and they are that protective scaffolding that is required, they are not sufficient to thrive. If you want to go from surviving to thriving, then you need to have more therapies, okay, which is what I have experienced, and I've been fortunate enough to experience that. So the first is, of these 4, is the role of allies. Okay, these are people who are a little bit distant from the family and who can be there also as a form of empathy. So I spoke about mentors. I have networks like my book club or my writers club, and very importantly, I have my daily download friends. I mean, these are people whom I download my whole day with every day. And I think, you know, in today's day and age, we have friends that we can call at 2 in the morning in an emergency, but do we really have friends that we can download on a daily basis? And it's not like we're sharing like deep and meaningful conversations. We're just literally saying, you know, what's happened in the day, and we're in touch with each other. So I think they really keep me peaceful and joyful. And, you know, related to that, I think that we live in a country which I call the chatterbox nation, you know. Do we really need to be the chatbot nation? You know, I have never used apps for mental health. I know there are lots out there, and there are a lot of people in this industry, and there are a lot of money going into this industry, but really we are the chatterbox nation, and can we not use mental health and technology to build communities that can support each other? So that was one of my thinking in the role of the allies. The second big game changer for me in terms of being able to thrive was being able to share my situation at work. And I shared it with Sukumar, my editor at the Mint, with Seema Chaudhary, who was my boss at the Mint, and also with Pramad Sinha at Anant. And they were so open about it, and there was no choice. I had to share it because I was slipping up at work. So I had to tell them that this is part of who I am, this is part of the package. And because they accepted it and they accommodated me in roles which would work for my condition, I've been at the Mint for 14 years now. I've been teaching at Anant for now about 4 years. And this is actually actually one area which I think India can do a lot on is workplace mental health. I totally intend to be an advocate for that, and if you would like to engage with me, I would love to hear from you. So allies and workplace, and then the very important part is the inner work, the conversation that you have with yourself, right? Why are the movies coming into my head in the first place? What are the triggers? As Radhika said, is it stress? What is it? And here I've had literally, I started maintaining a journal 10 years ago. I've had a 10-year conversation with myself to understand what is success for me? What is happiness? What is my identity? Whose validation am I seeking? What is the narrative of my life that is going to make me feel fulfilled? And these are the questions that were really triggering a lot of my episodes, and I think to some extent I have resolved them and I'm in a much, much better place. My scorecard is a lot more internal than it used to be versus being really external. And the last one is spiritual therapy, okay, which is one of the ways of saying it is the means by which I had the conversation with yourself. Like, not many people would want to open up a journal and write. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, you can always read any text, any spiritual text, religious text that you find really, that speaks to you, okay? There was actually one shlok from the Bhagavad Gita that changed my life. You know, I'm a part-time professor, right? So I'll give you homework and I'll tell you, you can look up the book and find out which shlok it was and whether it resonates with you. But because I'm a nice professor, I'll say it's in chapter 8, so it'll make it easier for you and you can look it up and see if that's good for you. But yeah, I think that, you know, this was a really important part of my journey. Now, it might sound like a lot, right? 7 therapies, I'm struggling with 1 or 2, how do I do that? And the other point, you might think that, you know, it's very easy for all of us sitting in the opera house to say, okay, we come from a place of privilege, we have the resources, it's easy enough for Aparna to write this book, she had the time to do it. But I'll say one thing, these therapies apply to everyone. The context may change. Okay, if there is a woman who's suffering from depression in rural Rajasthan, her context is entirely different from mine. I completely acknowledge that. But the role of the family, the role of community, the need for medication, the need to have lifestyle, the role that spirituality can play and religion and faith can play in her life are pretty much the same as it would be for my life. You know, so I think what I'm really asking you to do is to examine your own context and see how this could work for you. And also the other thing is the book has a lot of references to people at the bottom of the pyramid or doing, you know, work for people in the bottom of the pyramid who can also access mental health. So I think we have a long way to go as a country. I'm not denying that at all. But I think it's really important to recognize that some aspects of the way to look at these conditions are universal. And what we obviously need to do is to look at how to deliver access to people in a more scalable and sustainable way.